Hello, welcome back to Sample Chapters. I'm going to be reviewing another book today, recommending another book today. As I said in my welcome video and in my book about dodgy Christian books, I endeavour to only recommend books that I believe are biblically sound, books that I believe will bless you and that are really, really encouraging and give glory to God. The one today that I'm going to review is one that's called To Tonic, and it is by author Eugene Kiapura. I'm sorry, I do pronounce things funny sometimes. I hope I've pronounced that right. Anyway, this book is great. It is really honest. It is really spiritually vulnerable, really open, really raw. It's a type of book I love to read, type of Christian book I love to read, because it doesn't fluff over situations. It's very honest. The author is totally honest about his struggles with certain sins, certain attitudes, fears, anger at God, disappointment, struggles with depression, sadness, loads of things. And these are the type, it's a type of book that's real. The type of books that I like to read are books that I feel are really relatable, because aren't we a bit fed up of books that are just telling us that, well, the author gets up at 5 o'clock every morning to spend 3 hours with God and, you know, this and that. We want books that are real, books that say, hey, look, I'm a Christian, but I am still human. And this is a situation that happened to me. And this is how I felt. This is what I said. This is what I did. And this is how I got over it. And this book does give God the glory. But he does go into full detail about how he went through a whole load of negative emotions because his son, his precious, beloved 14-year-old son who was a Christian, he went on a mission trip to Mexico with people who he trusted to look after his son, and his beloved son Jacob died, and he died in a horrific accident. If that is not bad enough, but the author went over there to Mexico with his wife, and something happened whereby they all had to go home again, but he had to stay, and he was the one that was given the responsibility of having to deal with all the horrible things, including identifying all the bodies of the boys on this mission trip. And then a whole lot of corruption happened with the Mexican authorities. They wanted money, state after state, place after place, wherever he went. People were wanting thousands and thousands of dollars. They were not very supportive or comforting to somebody who's not just lost their beloved son, but in horrific circumstances. He couldn't speak the language. There's a whole load of things that happened to him that it was just like hell on earth. It was a nightmare. It was just one thing after the other. And the unfortunate thing is he didn't even have his wife with him at that moment, because they made a decision that it was better that she went back to their home in the USA to look after the other children and get on with life there. And so he didn't even have her moral, emotional support. And the US Embassy were completely horrible. Anyway, to cut a long story short, if you want to get a little bit of a review, a little bit of an idea more about some of the horrible things that happened to him with regards to the political side of it, to do with the Mexican people just being completely corrupt, there is a video. I'll put the link down in the description. There's a video from his YouTube channel where it shows a news report and a kind of like not a documentary, but an interview from a news channel that are interviewing Gene, the author, and asking him about a little bit of the situation that happened to him, and also about the book that he wrote, this book, all to do with his experiences with losing his son and dealing with horrible, insensitive people, including Christians, after that time. So if you click onto that link, it starts off talking about something else that happened to somebody else that was imprisoned in Mexico and some unfair thing that happened to another US citizen, and then they bring Gene on and they ask him questions, and he does explain why the book is actually called Back to Tonic. In there, so if you wanted to jump ahead and know why he called the book that, that is there. I'm probably going to do this review in 2 parts because I want to do this review justice, and with my human frailty I can only say so much so quickly, and I want to do a really good book justice by just reading maybe a couple of excerpts from the book and explaining why it's such a good book. I'm just going to look down at my notes because I don't want to forget anything important. Yes. Okay, so I already knew that this author was a good writer, a fantastic writer, because I've seen other works of his and blogs and articles, and it's excellent. Now, God has a sense of humour. This guy suffered very much from dyslexia when he was younger and wasn't really keen on English and writing, as you can imagine a dyslexic person wouldn't be. But you would never know he suffers from dyslexia at all, because it's a bit like, imagine an opera singer. Imagine an opera singer couldn't sing a tune to a nursery rhyme. They couldn't even carry a tune to a nursery rhyme. And then they eventually became an opera singer, and they told you, no matter how great my voice is, no matter how much I'm performing to millions of people in this theatre, I once couldn't even carry a tune, and if you heard me sing a nursery rhyme you'd have laughed at me. Well, that's a little bit, you might think that's a silly analogy, but that is an analogy that matches the situation with him to me, because you would not know he had any problem with writing whatsoever, because this book is written excellently, and all his writings are perfect. They're brilliant. There's no problem with dyslexia. So don't let that put you off. There's no grammar or any problems with the book and the writing. Let me go back to my notes. Yes, so we think we're strong as Christians until something really terrible happens to us. And the author was in this similar situation. He thought he had a really good relationship with God. He thought he trusted him. He trusted that God would protect his loved ones when he prayed. But God said no. When he prayed for his son to be protected on this mission trip, God just blatantly said no, because he was in this horrific accident and died. And it was like having his whole heart ripped out. On top of that, with all the other horrible things that happened to him, it made getting over it even worse. He does get over it, but this book is about the journey that he made to discovering peace, not just with himself and what happened, but peace with God, because he got so mad at God, quite understandably. He fell into depression, and there's all this taboo thing about, oh, Christians don't get depressed. Yes, they do, because they're human. Just like you get a headache, Christians can sometimes have a pain of the heart and the mind. So he struggled with all these different negative feelings, but in the end he came back to realizing how he can get back in with God and not be blaming him all his life. So in the next video I shall read you a couple of excerpts from the book to give you an idea of some of the things he's writing about. And it is a positive book. It does give God the glory, but it also, if you are one of these people that you like real open, honest books about people's struggles with their relationship with God and something happening to them, and how they get through forgiveness of insensitive Christians and people, leaders that were supposed to help and be supportive, and they just turn around and slap you in the face. If you are one of these people that you would like to be encouraged by something like that, and encouraged to know how somebody got through this, then this is a book that I recommend you to read, because I believe it will bless you. So I'll meet you around the corner with the next video, because I don't like videos to be too long, and I will continue part 2 of my review of Back to Tonic by Eugene Kipura. Okay, see you soon. Bye.